Well, it could be worse. Could be oozing gravy out of our ball sack like them Australians, rather than chipping our tooth on for soup. Let's give her a while. Gentlemen, welcome back to the shop today on the healing bench, the Ego Blowjobber. Prior to a couple years ago, I had never seen, even heard of the Ego brand. That's because it's a new brand. So I bought this fair and square from the usual scumbags in order to blow the snow, mainly blow the snow off the vehicles. Maybe blow a few other things too, maybe campfires and so forth. Who knows, right? Here's the thing. It looks like another piece of plastic shit from, as I said, the usual scumbags. It is from Shervon Company, what bought out the Skill Saw brand and is now making them in wherever, offshore China. The reason I bought this, look at, Ego. What the fuck's an Ego brand? The reason I bought this, I got on the Gargler and typed in, what is the best blowing machine going? And lo and behold, pops up, Honest Abe's Pro Tool Super. I set off to my local homeless death spot. I had a look at it, and it didn't look any fucking good to me at all. Nothing really fits all that positively. Nothing, new brand, kind of vacillating. Start to thinking about it, set back on the Gargler. Lo and behold, this review site, right on their main page is successful advertising campaigns. Advertise with us. And every tool what's been reviewed is 4.25 stars or higher. There's not a single, it could be a polished fucking dog turd and it'd be, it doesn't feel good in the hand, but you get used to it. And the smell goes away surprisingly quickly. And the first benefit of having an A part, we can get rid of this NSA tracking device. This, of course, is a magnetostrictive strip that they have to demagnetize in order for you to get out of the store without setting off alarm bells. Here's an interesting comment from guys. We were talking about inventory control on tools and why they're built in like this. Some guys that actually work in the industry say a lot of times the workers at the store, unless they're inventory control workers, security, they will not challenge you if you walk out and the alarm goes off. And I've had that happen many times, that they either forget to, because this is actually supposed to, in the box, this is supposed to be very close to the UPC where they scan it and it gets demagnetized right away. But if it's not just perfect, these do not get negated, and of course alarm bells and whistles. I walk right out. I don't give a fuck. I ain't waiting around for you to check my shit. I paid. I know I paid. I just walk out, and I've never been challenged. Now maybe I look like an honest guy, or maybe I look like a scumbag and they don't want to mess with me, but either way, I pay for my shit. I get the fuck out. I'm not sticking around for you to worry about some little alarm bells. I'm glad I took this off because it's polypropylene. That's maybe why it doesn't feel like a proper tool, because it's not nylon. It's just PP and no glass fiber reinforcing in there. So I don't know how well that'd stand up in the cold to get knocked around, but this Jesus thing is a pain right in the cunning linguals anyway. Wax the hood of the car and so forth, so I'm just going to get rid of it. Omit it altogether. Factory delete. And she fits quite tightly together. Holy fuck. A lot of molding in that piece. So yeah, there we got sewer pipe ABS. That's why it doesn't feel like a proper tool, because it's not made out of tool plastique. Okay, there's some interesting construction details in here. First and foremost, we got the tab for the battery, and then a preload for the battery. This does nothing but preload this. Let's get this spring thing before I lose a highball. It does nothing but preload the battery so it's not weeble wobbling around on here on the latch. The power goes in. We got battery, we got black and red, and then battery management of some sort going into the confuser box here. Here's an interesting feature where you stick your hand. Metal bar, and then leads over to here. What could that be? Well, you could turn that into a shocker of some sort. But I think what that is for dissipating static electricity. So you get a whole bunch of movement of air. This builds up a shit ton of static charge. So you'd likely be getting shocked all the time. I bet you this is a high voltage negative or positive, no, it'd be negative ion generator type deal in order to limit the amount of static discharge you get. Here's the other thing. I did a video about using a vacuum to seal up, to do quick and dirty repairs on big industrial stuff that leaks oil everywhere. You don't want to do that obviously on gas or Varsol, anything flammable. But guys are saying, well, what you can do is use a Venturi, an air Venturi that doesn't have any electrical brushes, and that'll be fine. That's not fine because there builds up a static charge and you get sparking through that Venturi over time because there's air flowing through it. Anytime you get two different things moving around, you're going to build up a charge, just more or less of that. So be careful if you're around flammables and you're using blowers and stuff, because they do have a static charge. And they spared no expense on Celastic. This is adhesive and shock absorbing. It just keeps everything together. A little capacitor over here. This is the brain box and the drive for the brushless motor. Big, huge heatsink on there. Blackened for black body radiation, ostensibly. And urethane coated board in there. All very, very good for keeping the water out of her. Now they say store this inside, so, but still, all the electronics are well potted, so that's a good thing. We have a little detented pot in order to get the speed. Here's one, the stupidest fucking thing ever. A turbo button. I haven't used the thing without the turbo, so we're going to go ahead and bypass that. All it is just a momentary switch. Nice heavy detent on this, what is this, a Dafont or a something else, unmarked switch. And it's got a nice heavy detent as well. But that is just a micro switch or a limit switch. Heavy detent on her. All potted right proper to fuck. So that's pretty good. Now we'll get into the motor section. That's interesting. There's a high-tech looking nose coner. ABS plastique. The only nylon on the thing, glass fiber reinforced nylon, is the bell housing here for the impeller. And we've also got some vibration damping bushings here on the periphery. All of this is all ABS sewer pipe. However, there's no stank to her, so that's good at least. No offshore stank at all to her. And this also looks like some sort of mitigation for static. And we'll get in there and take the vanes off, the blades. What would you call that? It'll be a turbine mechanic nowadays. Does it strike you as odd that this motor would have a fan on the back end in order to cool it? Wouldn't it? Yeah, strange. Must be an off-the-shelf fan. I don't know how this comes out now. It should come out backwards, but I don't want to wreck it. Certainly don't want to wreck it. Peeling the onion here. This is interesting. The stator, well, the inside is stationary, and it's the outside spinning that actually spins the blade here. So that's just like a small stepper on a copy machine. And it sure is recalcitrant. Come on, you fucking piece of shit. Fuck. Phillips in a posi drive hole. You'd think with all these Japanese screwdrivers around, I'd have a posi drive handy. No. Here's the motor, and just in the pale blue glint of the moon, we can see it's been lasered on there with some numbers. Got on the old gargler. Nothing. Proprietary numbers, not on, not searchable, not indexed on the Google. But while I was on there, I set to looking at the review sites about this thing, see what they had to say. And then I went over to the Chervon site. And it's like they take the same talking points, the copy, and copy and paste it to these review sites. There's no integrity whatsoever. None whatsoever. It makes me sick to my stomach. We're getting into the highest techest battery in the industry, allegedly. PC, ABS, and TPE overmolding. So good material in the battery at least. We'll try and get in there. There's a switch. You see I got my prophylactic on. There we go. Lots of Celastic in there. Oh, that must be the battery controller, completely potted in there. All kinds of balance lines just gooped in there with Celastic. Nicely done. 179 Canadian doll hairs for one of these things. And I cut this previous. You just gotta perform a very ginger bris on account of the patient being a little bit tetchy. So here's the phase change technology stuff. And if we look at that battery, looks like an LG cell. Now this is 140 watt hours. I'm not too convinced. Not too convinced. So what is this? Some sort of crystalline goop. Well, it would have to melt if it's calling it phase change technology, but it just looks like mica in some sort of plastic wax. We're getting there now. Sorry, that's my mistake. A Samsung cell. 25R, INR 18650 25R. That is a good cell. Now my question is, this is a higher capacity battery. It's lower voltage, but these are arranged in series. These are all seriesed up, so that's how you get the 56 volts. But it's got the same amount of energy in it. Why? So actually, no, this is my mistake. It's got the same amount of energy essentially as this guy. This is 10 cells, right? And this is 15 cells. So you can get 15 cells. Mind you, these probably aren't the high demand R25, so there might be a little bit of different spice going on. But you know, this battery is $120, something like that, and it's got more capacity, 162 watt hours. The other thing I don't like about this is once you commit to a tool tribe, you're stuck with the battery. So unless you're willing to jump ship, all your batteries are useless then. So now I bought this thing, now I got another set of batteries. I think you'd be better off just buying either red or yellow or whatever flavor of batteries you got, or that god-awful teal. Now we're into the charger, and we see the charger is quite well made, as opposed to some chargers. Now this of course is FCC compliant, so for electrical noise. These guys are what filter that electrical noise back into the grid. So an X2 capacitor and a current choke here. There's also a varistor and a PCT, looks like. A little fuse there as well, but that doesn't filter any noise. So what'll end up happening on some of them is they'll get shipped and they won't populate some of these filter elements just to reduce the bill of materials cost, just to reduce the cost. We're talking, pennies, well, $50 worth of components. But when you look at the economy of scale, $50 over 500,000 units, that's substantial. So they omit these, but in this case, they've kept these in place. There is one jumpered out little thing which apparently they didn't need. Or it could just be that the design is, they design it with all kinds of noise suppression and then they pare back until they just barely pass the FCC compliance, and that reduces their bill of materials cost. As we see here, there is an X2 capacitor to filter that high speed kind of weeble warble in the Pixies. Everything else appears to be pretty good. Lots of Celastic, good attention to detail. Routed slots for separation of high voltage from low voltage. Nothing wrong with that. While they've taken extreme measures for each of the components by elasticating it down, the board itself is weeble wobbling around in there, and it's just relying on the friction fit of the casement. So that's kind of craptacular. If we get that going the other way like so, I guess everything's got to be aligned just so. And there we go. Yeah, it doesn't shake around. This phase change, I don't know if you see the smoke coming off of there. Some sort of graphite carbon matrix with little granules. Appears to be wax. It can't be for sure, but that's the phase change. Yeah. Got the battery back together. We'll get her on the charger while I set this thing up to get her back together. Now, once it's charged up and back together, if it works, we'll test it out to see how long the run time is. Now, of course, I've soldered down or glued down the turbo button, which is the only time it actually fucking works. It's like you're not going to use the thing unless the turbo button is on. Same ditto for the potentiometer. I mean, why? You're gonna blow out some birthday candles with the thing? No, you know, if you want a full chooch or nothing type deal, might as well have a toggle on it. That's the other thing. You know, like these Dyson vacuums and so forth, that new vacuum. Oh my God. The talk about dumping the shill reviews all in one go. I wonder if they told the shill reviewers that they were all going to dump, you know, there was going to be on YouTube 200 dumps of this V10 Dyson Suck-O-Matic on at the same time. But anyway, I digress. Okay, got her tuned up with the turbo button always on. And let's see if she... Oh, put the battery... see if she gives half a turn, farts, and lets the smoke out, or if I put it back together proper. It did go back together nice. That's indicative of some quality injection molding when the thing is not sprung and it actually goes back together. Contact. Let's have a look. I can't see in there anyway. Fuck it. Even a blind pig, am I right? I'm going to test how loud this thing is, as well as how long it runs on turbo. You definitely want hearing protection for this. Loud as fuck. It's supposed to run 75 minutes, or rather up to 75 minutes. We'll see what that means. We'll even give her a little head start here on account of doing that little test. And now I get a piece of tape. There you go. We got 9 minutes at full chooch, and while it does blow like a hooker on on a footage bonus, it ain't gonna do naught but your little merkin of grass in an empire of dirt. I got a fair bit more than a merkin, so this ain't for me. This is, it works good for blowing the snow off of things and blowing the dust up in the shop here, but as far as replacing a yard tool, it ain't gonna happen. It just doesn't have, like, what you need for your yard is one of these, you know, a Husqvarna, and this also blows and sucks, you know, so you can run it for, these will run forever. It's 9 minutes, you know, it's just not gonna do it. The other thing is, if you do find yourself, so that's out of the side, this is not for yard work particularly, because it only runs for 9 minutes. But the other side of that is, why would you buy something with this big Jesus battery? Now you're stuck with this boat anchor around your ankles. instead of buying a tool what's got proper batteries you can use for other tools, you know, there's not but a whippersnapper you're going to buy from these guys. You're not going to buy a come on, battery powered snowblower or a battery powered whirligig. Like, it ain't happening. Get your head out of your arse. So I would, as far as build quality, yeah, it's okay. It's not bad. All the plastic is crap. It blows like a hot damn, which is what it's supposed to do. But the batteries are good. But are they $200 good? Are they boat anchor around your neck good? I don't know, man. I would go myself with an axial fan, or even a blower, a centrifugal fan, but proper tool batteries instead of getting sidled with something like this. Thanks for watching. Keep your dick in a vice.